Good afternoon, everybody. How are you? For those of you who don't know me, my name is Tracy Wilcox. I am one of the lecturers in the School of Financial Services in the banking department, and my specialization is in sales and service, which is why I generally torment my students in making them do presentations. And guess what? I get to do uh, the pleasure is returned for me. Okie dokie. Welcome to our information session on investments and banking, and the investments and banking qualifications. Um, how it's going to run is firstly, I will be going through the NQ 5 in banking, which is the highest certificate, then the advanced certificate in banking, which is the NQ 6. Then I will hand over to Stanton Lesh, who will talk about the NQF 8 in banking. And then finally, I will hand over, in terms of Milpark staff and lecturers, to Corbin Neiman, who will be talking about the NQF 8 in investment management. Okay, but after that, that's even the most exciting part. We have two current students with us. Both of them have finished their higher certificates, but not quite graduated yet. That is Clinton Webb and Donovan Tarr. And I will be chatting to them a little bit later in the session and asking them some questions about their experience with Milpark as students, and particularly as working students. So, because I think for most of us, that is exactly where we are. And then after that, the most important part is the questions from the audience. So please, if you've got any questions, if anything pops up while you are listening to what's being talked about, you're welcome to pop it into the chat, or you can hold your horses until we open the floor, put up your hand and turn on your mic and let it drop. Okay. All right. If everybody is happy, please give me a thumbs up so I can see that you're with me. Okay. My panel's with me. Do I have do I have any guests who are with me? Okay, no thumbs up. Okay. All right. I will have to just carry on. Okey dokey. All right. So, as I said, I will be talking about the higher certificate in banking services firstly, which is our NQF 5 qualification. It is SACWA registered 90843, but you don't really need that number right now. Okay. It is an entry-level higher education qualification designed to equip students with the knowledge and skills required to operate successfully in a specific entry position in an organization that promotes banking services. So this does not necessarily mean it has to be a bank as we understand it, like ABSA, Standard Bank, even Investec, but it can also be things like the finance department of a furniture store who does credit. Then you would be an entry-level person in that space. Okay. So anything that is kind of touches on what we would consider banking services. All right. So who's it suitable for? Well, a school leaver who wishes to enter a junior position in banking services. And I know I've spoken to a couple of students who are school leavers. They don't work for banks yet, but they're hoping to work for banks. And so they are doing the program. Okay, a person who has achieved another qualification in an applied area of practice or a non-vocational area and who seeks a more banking services orientated qualification. So for instance, you might have done a qualification in HR and you've landed up working for a bank and now you realize you don't know that much about banking in general, so let me do this qualification. And of course, any employed person who wishes to enhance, develop, or formalize their skills and knowledge with a qualification in this area. Okay. So the possible roles that this would suit: a junior sales or service consultant, a teller, although they are a dying breed, Administrators, now those can be both within a branch setting or in a head office setting. Operations assistants, and a new and growing department of most banks, the call center consultant. Okay, so this program consists of 3 compulsory modules: regulation and compliance in the banking industry, fundamentals of retail banking, customer service and communication. Okay, and then you need to choose another 3 electives, and you can choose from introduction to sales, fundamentals of economics, introduction to business management, personal and small business credit, principles of accounting, and fraud detection. Okay. All right, so that is the whistle-stop tour to the higher certificate in banking services. Our next qualification is the advanced certificate in banking services, which is our NQF 6 qualification. You can also SACRA ID 90842. This one is a little bit more advanced. As I said, it's a level 6, and therefore it is a little bit more challenging. Okay, the advanced certificate is a second level higher education qualification designed to equip students with the knowledge and skills to operate professionally in a junior position in an organization that promotes banking services. So it's similar. I would say you would even take you up to junior management, because a number of the modules that you do on this are management modules. Okay, so who would this be suitable for? A person who's completed the highest certificate in banking services or similar and wants to take their foundational banking skills to a higher level. An employed person wishing to enhance, develop, or formalize their skills with a knowledge, with a deeper knowledge of banking services. Okay. The roles: personal banker, a junior credit analyst or loan officer, team leader or junior manager. See what I'm saying? It's a lot about junior management, financial advisor, and a small branch manager. Okay, this means a manager of a small branch rather than a branch manager who's small in stature. Okay, so a small branch manager. Again, this one has 3 compulsory modules: risk management in banking, banking and business law, bank management. And then you can choose another 3 electives. These are including the principles of human resource management, sales management, banking without boundaries, which looks at the future of banking, financial crime, which obviously is a big thing in South Africa, fraud examination, business credit, applied financial accounting, finance for managers, and compliance techniques and strategies. And obviously, as you know, compliance is a big deal within banking and is taking up more and more energy and space, should I call it that. All righty. We also do have 2 degrees in banking, or a range of degrees, sorry, in banking, which is the Bachelor of Business Administration and a Bachelor of Commerce in QF7 with different specializations. So the Bachelor of Business Administration is with a major in banking, which is more if you're going in the HR and sales direction, that might be the way that you want to move, doing a banking, a BBA. Or there is a Bachelor of Commerce with majors in credit or banking or investment in banking or investment management. All of those are in QF7 level programs. We will not be discussing these in detail because the School of Commerce did their info session last night. But I'm sure if you go onto the website, you will be able to find links to that session, the recording, so that you can get more information. And of course, remember, on the website, you will find all of the fact sheets for all of our qualifications, including the ones that I've just talked about, as well as links to help with our student services, who can give you more information about which program you should be going on to, and also how to apply and how to register when you get to that point. Okay, that's me done the whistle stop tour. I think the Those who know me will be surprised. Okay, I am going to now hand over to Stanton Lesh, who is going to talk us through the postgraduate diploma in banking, the NQF8.
Thank you, Tracy. And once again, good evening and welcome to this banking and investments webinar. Before I start, Nati, Corbin will speak to your question that you posted in the chat when he deals with a postgraduate diploma in investment management. But for now, let me speak about my qualification, which is the postgraduate diploma in banking. So I'd like to use an analogy. Tracy spoke to us about the NQF 5, 6, and 7 qualifications. And in terms of analogy, I would say those are your building blocks, and those are the qualifications that will give you a foot in the door and a seat at the proverbial decision-making table. But if you want to elevate your career and you want to sit at the head of that decision-making table, a postgraduate diploma in banking is the one that you should go for. So that's an aspirational qualification. It will elevate you to senior and executive management. And as Tracy mentioned, it's at the NQF8 level, which is at the same level as an honors degree without having to obviously submit a thesis or a research report. But let's go into a little bit more detail, Tracy. Okay. So why banking? Well, the South African banking industry is world-class, firstly. Secondly, it's one of the major employers in the country with over 200,000 people working in the banking sector. Another thing is the global banking sector has undergone unprecedented change over the last 20 to 30 years, and the South African banking sector the same. And I will share some examples going forward. When we look at our traditional banks over the last, call it 50 years, we always speak about the big four, which is your Absa, Standard Bank, Nedbank, and your First National Bank. But although those traditional banks are quite strong and the competition between them are quite fierce, there is still room in the banking market for additional competitors. And one of our newer large banks is called Capitec. At the moment, they've got the most customers in the banking sector, so they're number one in terms of customer numbers, but they're only about 25 years old. And then when we look at companies which we would probably classify as fintech companies or banks, over the last 8 years, we've been introduced to a company called Time Digital, a bank called Time Digital, a bank more on the commercial and corporate side called Bank Zero. We've also had Discovery Bank branching into banking and doing it quite successfully. And then most recently, one of our big financial services players have also started to have launched their own bank, Old Mutual Bank. So even though the banking sector is dominated by the traditional players, there's definitely room for competition. And the introduction of these players into the market have shown that there's definitely space for them to make some money. Another thing that we need to speak about is that because financial institutions and banks are changing at an unprecedented pace and they are transforming themselves, the employees in the market, which are us, who are working in banking, we also need to evolve, and we need to evolve just as fast. So we need to evolve our skills, we need to evolve our competencies to ensure that we are future fit. So, but that does not mean that the traditional banking skills, your risk management, your credit management, your financial analysis skills, your communication skills, those skills you will still need. So those are your traditional skills. But in the market that we are moving into and that we have been in, especially post-COVID, you also need new skills. And when I say new skills, I'm talking about skills such as critical thinking, interpersonal communication, advanced interpersonal communication, which also places emphasis on empathy and your emotional intelligence. We're talking about advanced analytical abilities, problem solving, adaptability, and importantly, commercial awareness. Because in business, there's a concept of you must find a gap in the market, which is important. But often businesses are not commercially aware in the sense that they don't understand that even though there's a gap in the market, there might not be a market in the gap. Let me explain that for you. So you've identified a want, and people like the gap that you found, but they're not prepared to pay for it. So yes, there's a market in the gap, but because people are not prepared to pay for it, and because you will not be able to sustain yourself financially, there isn't a market in the gap. So that commercial awareness is something that we'll also deal on this course. And importantly, all those new skills, it's not skills that it's not skills that are new to you. Those skills are inside of you, but often it's hidden. So our job as lecturers and as facilitators are to unhide those skills and to unlock your potential so that you can operate at a much higher level. Next slide. So what is the purpose of the program? So firstly, we want to equip students with skills and competencies which will allow you to function in management levels. And when you say management, we're talking about general management functions, but also in specialist functions. So if you're a specialist in commercial property finance or investment banking or trading, you should be able to function at both levels, the general management level and the specialist functional level. We also want you to be competent in terms of the management topics, but at a higher level, at a strategic level, which will allow you, as I mentioned earlier, to sit at the head of the table and to actually be the decision maker, and not just somebody that contributes to the decision making. Then students that are qualified with a postgraduate diploma in banking, they typically have acquired competencies that will allow them to deal with a lot of current and future banking management related aspects. We will talk about artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain. How does that impact the banking sector? And how does that impact you as your role as a banker? Because we, as education specialists, we don't see artificial intelligence and all the other embedded technologies as a threat. We actually see it as an opportunity to service our clients better. So gone are the days where you will see something as a threat and it's only a threat. Yes, it is a threat, but if you have the correct skills and you've got correct competencies, you can make it an opportunity to service your clients better, to make more money, to do more business with your client, and to ensure customer loyalty and customer retention. Let's look at the program structure. So in terms of this postgraduate diploma, we have 7 compulsory modules and we have 1 elective. In total, to get the qualification, you need 125 credits. So some of the modules that you will do are called bank risk management, which is one of your compulsories, one of your 7 compulsories. We will look at business ethics and corporate governance, ethics, sustainability, morality, and decision making, all forming part of that course. We will also teach you and guide you to lead an organization responsibly. Then we will look at a subject called research methodology, which will allow you to research and hopefully problem solve some of the key concerns or challenges in your banking organization. We will also look at international bank management and strategy. What are international banks doing? What can we learn from them? Have we got international banks in South Africa? And how does the structure of our international banks compare to our global counterparts? And then the banking project module is an active learning module because you will deal and you will address and you will solve a problem in your organization or in your division. So you can either decide, I'm going to solve a problem at ABSA or your organization, your employer, or you can decide, I'm going to solve a problem at ABSA Vehicle Finance because that is the division that I'm working at. So that's where you do the banking project, which is obviously research-based and assignment-based. And then one of the reasons why we are highly rated globally is our bank regulations, especially our regulator, or what we call our prudential authority, the South African Reserve Bank, because of how well they are regulating us and how well they are supervising us. And then lastly, the elective that we look at is financial services technology. And that is where we look at fintech companies, where we look at artificial intelligence, we look at machine learning, we look at blockchain, and a number of other emergent technologies. That is basically the modules that you will be dealing with. And then in terms of the timetable, we've made it very lean and mean and also manageable for students. In most instances, we advise students to complete this diploma, postgraduate diploma, over 2 years. The reason being is that most of our students, if not all of our students on this qualification, are full-time employed, demanding jobs either at the senior or an executive level. They also typically are older, so they typically between the ages of 35 to, let's call it, 50. And because of that, they've got kids, they've got families that they have to look for, they are involved in the communities. So if you want to have a balanced life, you obviously, I would say, doing this qualification over 2 years should be the default, and we've had a lot of success with that. There are the isolated circumstances where students say, I'm going to take a sabbatical this year, I want to do this full time. And then you can also do it 2 modules at a time, and you can do it in that space. Block 1, Feb till April, block 2, April to July, block 3, July to September. And then your last block where you often do your electives, which will be September to December. So there's different ways, and your specific and unique circumstances will determine whether you do it over 1 year, 2 years, or even if you decide to do it over 3 years, because you can also do it over 3 years. That's basically what I've got to say about the postgraduate diploma in banking. If you look at the roles that I mentioned earlier, is that obviously you can, as most of our students will go into senior management, executive management, whether it be divisional executive or group executive roles post this qualification.
Thank you, Stanton. Well, I have some brilliant news, and this is literally hot off the press, like it was signed yesterday, that hot off the press. Milpark has joined with the Resurrected Institute of Banking, or Bankers South Africa, the IOB. And for those of you who are old bankers, I know some of them have been around the block that are on my panel, as well as some of my fellow colleagues. The IOB really was a very, I don't know what the word is, but they literally were, if you saw that somebody had an IOB qualification or designation, that was like, wow. They really are very professional bankers. And unfortunately, over the last 10, 15 years, it's sort of fallen away a bit, but they're working very hard to resurrect that. And as part of that, they have joined with Milpark. And so they have a different designations, and Milpark's qualifications align with certain of their designations. I'm not going to go through this in detail because, as I said, this is so hot with the press. Marketing hasn't had a chance to catch up. Once they have caught up, they will definitely be sending out a lot more information about what this entails, both from the IOB side and from the Milpark side. But just a few things that are important. So in the IOB, you need to, there are 3 pillars that they would have. The first is the qualification. Now, our qualifications align totally with their qualification. The second is the experience, and obviously we can't give you that. That's with your work. So your job will give you the experience that is required. And then in every year that you are a member of the IOB, you will be required to sign an ethical declaration. And we know that we've seen so many things of banks around the world where ethics has slidden off to the side, or assisted in other companies being unethical. So this is a really important part. And then finally, you would normally be required to write an exam or do some form of assessment that is linked to the designation. But as a Milpark student, if you complete your qualification, that final exam or assessment will fall away because it is the equivalent of what you're required to do. The other nice thing is, as a Milpark student, you get 50% off of your membership fees. As I said, a lot more detail coming along. So with a higher certificate, NQ5, you will be called a banking professional, South Africa. With advanced certificate, the IOB designation would be the registered banking professional. With a BCom, or BBA, so you're level 7, you become a certified banking professional. And with the PG dip, which Stanton has just talked about, you become a chartered banking official. Okay, the last row, which is essentially the people are invited to join this row, is the fellows. This is talking about really talking to the guys who are very much at the top of the tree. Your yeah, the people who are like very senior managers, board members, the C-suite, those kind of people. So unfortunately, you're invited, so we can't really align with that. But maybe we can start talking about an MBA. But that's also another point for the future. But as I said, please keep your eyes out. Look for this. There will be information coming up and through the system in the next couple of weeks. So look for it and get excited because I know I am. Okay. And now I'm handing over to Corbin, where we're going to talk about the postgraduate diploma in investment management.
Thanks, Tracy. Good evening, everyone. So the postgraduate diploma in investment management, NQF8, we are rolling out a new streamlined version of this diploma in 2026. Jürgen and I have been busy the whole year ensuring that all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted. And we think this new version of, reviewed version of this, the postgraduate diploma is very student friendly, and it touches on all the important points of the investment management industry, and specifically we have aligned it to mostly CFA level 2 curriculum. So one of the things that we did before we started with the review of this qualification was to go and look at where are our strengths and weaknesses, for the lack of a better word, versus the public universities that have a postgraduate diploma, an honors degree in investment management, and we then looked at what we can do to improve this diploma going forward, and that's what we have been working on for next year, and that is the course that we're going to roll out from 2026. Okay, so first of all, very important, the postgraduate diploma in investment management draws heavily on the CFA candidate body of knowledge. Okay, as I said, it's pitched at level 2 with some revision of level 1, and then also we also enter into level 3 curriculum with portfolio management and wealth management, which I'll talk about just now. Okay, but what's also great is we have 2 CFA charter holders that teach on this course, and when it comes to tertiary institutions, there's not a lot of tertiary institutions that have CFA charter holders teaching on their courses. So that also just means that students know that they'll stay up to date with the newest industry trends and norms, because charter holders do have access to the latest trends, the latest data, and the latest research. And this postgraduate diploma provides students with exposure to the investment management industry as a whole. So we know the investment management industry is very big, and this course ensures that students touch on every aspect of the investment management industry. Okay, just one note, just a difference between an honors degree at a public university and our postgraduate diploma is that with the honors degree, there is usually a research component. With our postgraduate diploma, there is no research component. We're more focused on practicality. Next slide, please, Tracy. So this program would be suitable for individuals who want to gain some extra knowledge in financial management, in financial instruments and investment management. These will be individuals who either want to start their own investing or who are interested, who learn something in their undergraduate years about investment management, but are interested in taking it further. Also, maybe individuals who have family offices and want to manage family money. Then also, the program is suitable for any individual who wants to pursue the CF or a professional designation, with the CFA charter being the one that is pitched to. And then also any industry professional who wants to upskill in the investment management industry. So we know that things are evolving. The investment management industry, as with all industries, are evolving. It's good to stay up to date. Next slide, Tracy. So, what type of industry roles would you be able to enter into? So, as you know, again, the investment management industry is very broad. So, when we talk about something like a research analyst, it could be equity research analyst, fixed income research analyst, or fixed income analyst, or alternative asset analyst. It can be private equity, it can be hedge fund analyst. Okay, so this qualification gives you again a broad view of the investment management industry and the potential roles. The same with portfolio management. You can be an equity portfolio management, fixed income, or alternative asset portfolio management. It gives you entry point into those roles. Then also private wealth, which is a sector of the investment management industry that is growing a lot overseas, and that spillover will come to South Africa. And then you can also look at becoming a portfolio performance analyst. Thank you. So the modules for 2026. Okay, so what we try to do with this the new structure is we try to keep the modules more focused, okay, more digestible for students. Previous or the way the qualification looked previously, it was very large modules, 25 credit modules. Sometimes it was a mix of two different modules. But next year it will be specialized, focused. And yeah, I think it speaks more towards what online students want to see in the investment management space. And then we also added wealth management and portfolio management, which does have a little bit of the level 3 curriculum. That's part of it. So we started with fixed income and quantitative methods. I mean, with all these modules, we give you some revision of your undergrad, of level 1 work, and then we move into corporate finance and equities, and then we have investment code of ethics, financial statement analysis, alternative investments and derivatives, and then wealth management, portfolio management. As you can see, we talk to each asset class, and we also look at the analysis of not only financial statements but the different assets, and then we have derivatives, and then we take it all together with your wealth management, portfolio management, in terms of how do we implement the analysis of these different asset classes, and how do we build portfolios, because at the end of the day, that is what investment management does. We don't build cars or houses, we build portfolios for clients. So just a last thing, remember that this qualification is not a prep. We are not prep providers for the CFA exam. However, it does give you background on these, and in-depth background on these different subjects, so that you have knowledge when you go and write CFA level 1 and CFA level 2. which is always beneficial to have. And then we also, in some modules, we also go into a little bit more depth than what the CFA Institute goes into, and we look at the practical side of things a little bit more than what the CFA curriculum does. Thanks very much. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you so much, Corbin. And now we get to the most exciting part of the program for me, is that we talk to our current students. As I said, they have both completed the coursework for their higher certificate, and they will graduate next year. Sorry, let me make you more interesting and kill the slides. Or try and kill the slides. Oh, there we go. We managed to kill the slides. Okay, so with us we have Clinton Webb and Donovan Tarr. As I said, both they were actually my students, so they're poor men. They were tortured by me, and have completed their coursework. Donovan has actually just applied for the BBA. So yeah, he's hoping that he's going to be carrying on studying with us next year, well, for the next 3 years at least. So that's super exciting. And obviously he found value in his learning from Milpark. So I'm just going to ask them a few questions. But I'm going to start off, let me start, because Donovan's on my left. So I'm going to start with Donovan, and I just ask you, how long have you been in banking? A little bit about yourself.
Well, thanks, Tracy. So I started in 2001 doing support for Standard Bank, and have been at a couple of the international banks doing client implementation, always in the corporate space. So global implementations, I've now moved into a sales role, also still doing implementation, but covering international, so Africa. So I guess that gives me around 23, 24 years experience, if that gives away my age. It's yeah, so I actually studied programming, and I started out life in the tech space and doing tech support for the banks, and moved more into a business role. So I started with Milpark just on the higher certificate, just to give myself a better understanding of the banking world from a business perspective. And I found it very interesting. I enjoyed the method of study, and I'm a very big procrastinator. So it was a nice way of motivating my studies as well, the way that it's structured. And that's why I've also applied now for the BBA. So hopefully I will be given credits as well, and I won't have to be the whole 3 years.
That I can't tell you, so I would be lying.
You go, Donovan.
You go, Donovan. Well, Clinton, it's your turn now. Can you tell us a little bit about your banking history?
Yeah. Thanks, Tracy, and good afternoon, everybody. It's still light in Cape Town, so I can say good afternoon and not good evening. Yeah, Tracy, it's been a whirlwind. You know, my dad called me a one-hit wonder, because I did a first year law, gave that up. I did a first year BCom accounting, gave that up. And then I went and did a 1 year in the army. So I was called a one-hit wonder growing up. But essentially, you know, my in my bio, I said as well, you know, the 30 years or so that I've been in the corporate structures, I only really hit the banking fraternity in about 2004. And started with Standard Bank as well, funny enough, and worked my way through the different levels of the bank, different departments within the bank. Then started in electronic banking in about 2009, 2008, somewhere around there. And that then obviously gave me I think the fortitude to then delve a little bit deeper into what banking for our corporates means. So we then became heavily entrenched in understanding how to deal client implementation. So much like Donovan, understanding the client need, matching that to what the bank actually has. And you think you know a lot, and when you've been in the bank for 20 odd years, I had then recently changed my banking employer to a different striped bank and left the blue bank. And they had a different requirement. So they saw, being fit and proper, and I suppose your students will understand that being fit and proper in this world, you need to comply with certain regulatory requirements that not just I suppose is delved into by the bank, but in terms of the broader banking fraternity. So Investec saw it a little bit differently, and they actually wanted me to do something a little bit more banking regulatory perspective, and that got me to then talk to the guys at Milpark. And much like Donovan, I think I had a fantastic experience. I think I'm a little bit older than Donovan, but this Bully managed to get through the different modules. It was a tough, I suppose, guess at which modules I was going to be interested in and what I was actually going to enjoy doing. But having spoken to some of the colleagues and people who've done it in recent years, you actually formulate what you think you're going to need in terms of qualifying. And I suppose the only guidance, and I don't know if it's going to be one of your questions, that my guidance to the prospective students is just don't procrastinate like Donovan. You have to put the time in. You get one book and it seems very simple, and you think you can do it in the last 2 weeks prior to your actual exams. And thankfully, I think, Tracy, I think the model with Milpark that really works really well for me is having your the different submissions that you need to do by a certain date, because that forces you to have to go through the material. I thoroughly enjoyed that. I nearly gave up after the first 2 modules because I had this habit of procrastinating. So and then when you hit your rhythm and you hit your stride, and when you eventually find how best to do this, it actually then becomes quite encouraging to actually do this. And so very happy that I had gone through this. And again, I think, to echo Donovan, very happy with the way Milpark dealt this. Very supportive as well, Tracy, and thanks to you as well. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to graduate next year. But that's just very quickly what I'm all about.
Thank you. So one of the questions I think I'm going to start with Clinton is, how do you manage to fit your studies in with the rest of your life? So obviously you've got a job, you might have family, children, that kind of stuff. How do you get that to work?
Yeah, Tracy, in all honesty, as I said, I think I really battled with those first 2 modules that I went through, simply because, and it's not just a procrastination thing, right? It's trying to fit it in, because I hadn't studied. I mean, I haven't done any formal studies in 20 years. So to find that rhythm of knowing which nights you're going to do what, because in that 6-week period writing before you write your final exam, and I think a very good learning is to please to the guys to make sure that you go through the study plan. That study plan is immaculate. If you follow the study plan, which I eventually started doing, Tracy, it becomes a lot easier to navigate the time aspect. So I couldn't change. I have a pretty senior role now in terms of doing what I need to do. You work long hours. You need to be flexible in terms of your hours. And I suppose my message to the students would be, don't think that you're going to cram. Tracy, you do this very well in your introductory sessions with your students as well. You've got to go through the hard yards. I eventually was spending 3 nights a week and literally not even more than 90 minutes a night going through a particular chapter in the module. The self-asked questions at the end of the module, if you can answer those, you start understanding where the module is going and the chapter is going. So it's about routine. It's about hitting that routine from day one, making sure that you don't upset the apple cart and try and cram right at the end. It just doesn't work. So for me, it was planning, but that planning leads into scheduling and making sure that you've got a routine that you can actually fix it. I did very little, and I'm happy to admit this, but I did very little on weekends. Because weekends are my time, so if you work hard enough during the week, then your weekends are your time. Hope that makes sense, Trace.
No, it does. It does. I mean, as you know, I'm also a student currently, so it definitely It's about working out when your pressure points are, both within your studies and also in your work and your family life. So if you know this weekend is going to be a very heavy family one because the concerts and all that kind of stuff, then you need to make sure that the work is done earlier. I unfortunately am a student in the Donovan Tarr School and am also a procrastinator. So I've also had to learn how to get that right. So yeah, it is sometimes very challenging. Okay, so Donovan, because I'm going to pick on you now. How did you choose which modules would be most suitable for you?
So I went to a technical school. I studied programming. I've never done accounting in my life before. One of the most scary things for me was actually taking introduction to accounting principles. And I chose that because I knew I had to do it, because carrying on with further studies would mean actually getting into more detail with accounting. I specifically took that because I knew that it would be a foundation that I needed to move my studies further. The other modules that I chose that were electives were based on what I do on a daily basis in my role and where I'd like to see myself moving within the organization. So I basically positioned for where I want to go and further studies. I didn't just pick the easy ones.
No, accounting is definitely, well, I suppose it depends on you. For me, accounting is also not what I would call an easy
It
one.
ended up being the module that I got the highest marks for. So.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay, we won't talk about customer service and sales.
That was second.
Can this isn't a question that I actually put on the list, but can I ask either one of you, which was your favorite module and why?
I'll go quickly because Clinton's on mute still. Was it definitely one of the compulsories was regulation and compliance in the banking industry. I've been in the banking industry for quite a long time, and the amount of information that I learned from that one subject was actually staggering. I sat back and I thought, wow. It was almost like I had my eyes open for a change.
I think I have to agree, Donovan. Again, having been in the bank for 20 odd years in the banking fraternity, you think you know a lot. But when you start understanding the role players and the effect of those role players in your daily work, it encourages your participation in conversations with other people in the bank now, because you now know about the regulators. You understand where BankServe comes into the picture, or now Pay Inc. You appreciate these things a little bit better now, having gone through that.
Why
So
you
I
must
think
do your compliance modules and training.
yes, there you go.
Excellent. Well, I'm now going to open the questions to the floor. So if you do see there are a few questions in the chat, predominantly about the postgraduate diploma in investment management. But please, guys, feel free to ask about any of the other banking banking qualifications as well. All right, so please raise your hand if you want to ask a question. Yeah, I'm feeling unloved and unappreciated. This is very sad. But woohoo, Naughty, go Naughty, yay! Please unmute yourself and fire away.
Hi, Tracy.
Hi.
I think the question is more directed at Corbin with regards to postgraduate diploma in investment management. I just wanted to know, is the program available for part-time? So, because I'm still pursuing the CFA charter as well and working. Thank you.
Thanks, Naughty. Sure, you have a lot on your plate. Yes, yeah. So the program is or can be structured for part-time. So we will do it over 2 years, and you will basically do one subject or one module a cycle to reduce the workload, and that's specifically set up for students who have a large workload career-wise, so that they can also make sure that they can get to everything on the study side. So what you would do is you would do it over 2 years, and then you would basically just choose a subject, one subject each cycle. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
And Nachi brings up a really good and important point about structuring your studies so that you can actually complete them. So try, don't put too much on your plate, because the chances are that you won't be successful. So rather go with a smaller amount, we'll say one module at a time, or spread it out over 2 years instead of doing it all together for 1 year and then failing. It'll be a lot more expensive, but it's also very, very soul destroying to fail modules. So rather do one at a time, manage your time well, and manage your energy well, and be successful, or just over a longer period. Would you agree with me, gentlemen? I know one of you did take what I call the scenic route, so slightly longer.
I took
can't
2
remember
years
who it
to do
was.
mine.
Could have been.
Yeah, there was a 6-month break. I had a funding lapse, and I took a 6-month break. It was not great because I ended up having to take one module this year, which wasn't available in the last half of last year. So it became 2 years, but I completed it. It's probably, I'm very much like Clinton when it comes to that. Doing 1 year of this, 2 years of that, and then getting to accounting in a BCom and completely skipping out. And yeah.
Okay. But you finished. So there we go. This time around, you've pushed through. So well done.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a question from Zondi.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Tracy. I just want to find out, is there maybe a possibility that Milpark could offer treasury studies? Because I don't see an institution in South Africa that has that. The one qualification that I say I have, I got it from University of Northwest. Yeah, Northwest, in association with the Association of Corporate Treasurers in South Africa. And that is the only qualification that I could get. Is there perhaps, a consideration that we can also get such in South Africa, because it's in the UK. They are able to go diploma and masters and all that, but in South Africa, there's nothing.
Wow, sure. I will look at Mr. Lesh. And that's definitely something that we can look at including in some of our newer qualifications that we start thinking about registering, if there's a demand. So thank you for bringing it to our attention, Zondi.
Oh, that would be great. That would be really great.
I make no promises and tell you no lies, though. But
yes, thank you.
Something
Thank
that
you.
we
But
can
I
at
mean,
least consider.
yes,
Yeah.
it's something. It's something. Yeah.
Thanks for that. Any other questions? Jürgen.
Trace, we've got a very good question here from a potential student that also how does a student handle that transition from a public institution to online? I don't know if anybody would like to take that.
Either of us, gentlemen?
I'll take it because I studied at Nelson Mandela Metropolitan University, I believe, is a public institution. At the time when I studied, it was still called PE Tech. I was doing a national diploma in IT, so that was full time. And moving over to a fully online, like Clinton was saying, the way that the courses are structured and the way that you need to submit all the way through. So there's 2 assignments that you have to submit, and you basically get through half the coursework for the first assignment and half the coursework for the second assignment. There's also classes before the assignments, before the exams. So there is a structure to what you're doing, and there's the study plan that Clinton mentioned, which is very well set out. It tells you exactly which pages, which chapters you should be doing at what times. If you're able to just follow that, it's very easy to actually follow along. There is also a forum, a student forum, and a lecturers forum that you can use to interact with other students or with lecturers if you need to. And you can also set up interviews with lecturers. So it was very easy to interact with lecturers if you needed to, which I never did. I didn't find the need, but I wasn't doing a more advanced course. So it might become the need going forward, and it is available. So I'm very bad at actually keeping to plans and timelines with studies, and I found it okay to handle.
Any other advice from anyone else on the panel? I said earlier, I am also currently an online student, and I did most of my other qualifications at public universities, both as a working adult and doing it part-time, as well as a full-time student when I was young and sweet. Many, many moons ago. But what I find with studying online, which is a little bit different, is obviously even at any university, you do have to be quite disciplined in yourself and that kind of stuff. But with online, you need to be a little bit more like you have to force the engagement yourself. So you do need to step up and ask the questions if you need to. You need to do the activities that are there. So depending on the course that you're going to do, that could be online tests, it could be assignments, it could be what we call discussion forums, where you just chat about various topics over a week period, and you respond to other students. But a lot of it's true of any learning. The more you put in, the more you get out. So I just think that when it's online, there's a lot more emphasis or onus on you to do the work that you need to do, as opposed to maybe having tutors or whatever who are going to follow up with you in a public university. Although they don't really do that much of that from what I remember, but there is still more emphasis on you to take responsibility. Yeah. Does that answer your question? Is that you?
Sovuku.
I thought that was a surname.
Oh, Zetu, I see.
You're getting red hearts, Tracy. You're getting red hearts.
Okay, am I getting red hearts? Sorry, the red heart. I couldn't see the red hearts. That's great. Yeah, it's very nice and flexible, so you can adjust your studies around your lifestyle, which is one of the best and the advantages of online study compared to being in a university kind of environment, I would say. Yes. Okay, we're nearly at the end. Is there one last question? Okay, I'm going to ask one last nasty one to the gentleman. Donovan, no, Clinton, rather. Let's do Clinton. What impact do you foresee your qualification having on your career?
It's not a good question, Tracy. Can we have another one? Yeah. So as I said, when I came across from the Blue Bank, I investigated a slightly different feel to and thinking around being fit and proper. It ended up actually not needing to be done after the whole recognition for prior learning, because I'm a bully, So it won't have a material impact to me right now. But you know what it does do though, is it opens up the opportunities, because I've now got this qualification. It makes you more presentable to other areas within the bank, because you now are deemed fit and proper. And I think that's the message that I've got, is that if you think it's a waste of time, don't even bother. It'll never be a waste of time. With this, even at the NQF5 level, it definitely does open doors. So even at my more senior level, being available and you're actually pre-qualified in terms of some of the requirements for these job roles, I think for the younger guys, do it now, and you don't have to worry about it like this Opali in your late 50s. So yeah, definitely has an impact.
Thank you, Clinton. Donovan, I know, said that it is one of the things that he needs, particularly going in more into sales. So, yeah, it is a phase registered qualification. All of ours are phase registered qualifications. So they will always help you being fit and proper at the right level if you are if you're doing the qualification that is required. Yeah. Okay, well, guys, it's actually 1 minute past 6, so we've gone a little bit over time. I really thank you, Donovan and Clinton, particularly for being such star attendees on our panel. Thank you to Corbin and Stanton, and to Jürgen, who's been doing hard work there in the background on the chat function. Thank you too for everybody who has attended. As I said earlier, if you want to know anything more about our qualifications, firstly, go on our website and see the fact sheets. But secondly, contact our student services and they will be able to put you in contact with someone who will give you more information. Okay. With that being said, I will say a fond farewell. And yeah, keep well. Have a lovely evening, everybody. And hopefully we will see you all next year. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Tracy. Cheers, Donovan. Cheers,
Bye.
Jürgen.
Good
Bye-bye,
evening.
everybody.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.